I want to talk a little bit about the incoming administration, Joe Biden. He's talked about immigration reform. Meanwhile, we see a caravan of people coming from Honduras and Guatemala up towards Mexico. What are your thoughts on what would happen under President Biden at that U.S.-Mexico border if that caravan gets there?
Right. Eric, I have to say, frankly, it's terrifying. Joe Biden is putting forth these open borders proposals. They won't use that phrase, but that is de facto the reality of what they want for this country. And what I mean by that is they have promised, unfortunately, American citizenship, full American citizenship to tens of millions of illegal migrants who trespassed into this country, who broke our laws, disrespected our nation, and then compete unfairly in the labor market against American citizens. They have also promised, though, to go even further than that and offer generous incentives to those who would cross our border illegally, such as taxpayer-funded health care and a cessation, a complete stoppage to all deportations for at least 100 days. So when you look at all this in its totality, combined with ending President Trump's very effective Remain in Mexico policy, they also want to stop that abuse, the former abuse of our asylum procedures in the United States. When you combine all of that in its totality, I think it invites a border crisis. It's no surprise that there's already at least one major caravan on the way. I think there would be more behind it. And again, porous borders are never a good idea for America, for our economic and national security, nor for our health in a time of pandemic. It's never a good idea, Eric, but particularly in a time of such economic uncertainty in this country. We are still in a growing but fragile recovery in this country. And now is the worst time imaginable to flood the United States with potentially millions and millions of new workers to compete unfairly in the labor market against American citizens, many of whom, by the way, happen to be minorities, trying to get their economic legs back under them.
Yeah, and I think that there are people who are floating the idea of a pathway to citizenship and also opening that southern border. I got to tell you, Steve, listen, doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're from, you see a $27 trillion deficit in national debt, and that number's got to expand if you're bringing hundreds of thousands more people across the border and providing health care and education for these people. You can have a heart, but we simply can't afford it.
Right. Well, and Eric, here's the thing, too. It's bad policy. It's also bad politics. And the reason I say that is as proof I would offer to the audience, look at how well President Trump did in the border counties, which are highly Hispanic, working class counties. And this is true from the Gulf of Mexico all the way over to the Pacific Ocean in Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California. The president literally increased his voter share in 2020 in those counties substantially relative to 2016, massively so in some of them. I'll give you a couple quick examples. Starr County in Texas, it's the most Hispanic county in America, 96% Latino. The president didn't quite win Starr County, but he gained 55% versus his 2016 performance. He lost it by 60% then. He lost it by only 5% this time. Right next door is Zapata County, Texas, which is 86% Hispanic. The president did win Zapata County. He won it by 5 percentage points. That's a 38% improvement. So we saw versus 2016, we saw seismic shifts in these blue collar, heavily Hispanic border counties in the 2020 election. And what I think that tells us is that border security makes sense. The people who know it the best, the people who literally live on the border, rallied to the America First vision of border security, of border walls. And Hispanic Americans, by the way, contrary to what the liberal media wants us to believe, Hispanic Americans are not soft on border issues.
And I think he did very well, correct me if I'm wrong, but President Trump increased his Hispanic support from 2016 to 2020.
Yes, quite substantially. As a matter of fact, if we look at the top, there are 100 counties in America that are majority Hispanic. And according to Politico, the president got 44% total of the vote, almost won the vote overall in those 100 Hispanic majority counties. That is 12% better than he did in 2016. It's one of the crucial reasons why Texas, which a lot of the Democrats tried to warn us was going to be a state that was in play, that it could actually tip blue. Texas, in fact, was not in play. And it's also also one of the primary reasons that Florida was won relatively comfortably by the president. If you remember, the polling into Election Day showed us slightly down or perhaps tied in Florida. In fact, the president won the state of Florida by almost 400,000 votes, largely because of how well he did in Hispanics there. According to CNN exit polling, we split the vote 50-50, literally right down the middle of the Hispanic vote in the state of Florida. So there's a ton of momentum there. It's one of the reasons why, even though I'm very dismayed that Joe Biden is now president of the United States, I will tell you one of the main reasons that I'm excited about the future of the America First movement is that it's becoming such a broader movement. And that's true geographically, racially, ethnically. And proof positive of that is how well the president did among Hispanics. Again, whether it's on the border region in Texas or in South Florida among Cubans, this president proved that the America First combination of economic nationalism as well as sovereignty over our country is a winning proposition. And I hope that Senate Republicans remember that and that they show some backbone when Joe Biden tries to push through open borders legislation.
Very quickly, Steve, about half a minute or so. You talk to the president quite often. He alluded to the fact that this morning when he left Andrews Air Force Base, again, we're taping this on Wednesday, he left and said there's more to come from from Trump going forward. Do you have any idea what that might have been? He may have been talking
Yes.
about.
Listen, so I'm not at liberty to discuss his concrete plans, but I will tell you this. He's the indispensable leader of this movement. And the polling shows us that. Axios polling shows that 91% of Trump voters would vote for him again right now. Only 5% said that they would change their mind, and then a few percent are undecided. So he is the leader of this America First movement. He's going to remain incredibly influential, and I believe he's going to be most focused on trying to win the House back in 2022. He can be incredibly decisive in terms of fundraising, persuasion, communication, and campaigning for 2022.
Got to leave right there. Steve Cortes, thank you very much.
Thanks, Aaron.